So, so in Google Maps, we know that a listing is more than likely to attract 70% more visits and 50% higher to get a sale if you're showing up accurately on Google Maps. And as you can see here, when you optimize your listing on Google My Business and someone's doing a search on Google Maps, sorry, you will see that listing in tandem with this map. And again, it's the same card profile that shows you again all the details we saw before. So again, this again making it super critical from a local search perspective. Again, if someone, and Google knows this, if someone is um, on their phone doing a search, more than likely the intent is going to be very high. So now let's get started as to how do I create my listing or how do I optimize it? In many cases, maybe you already have one, and maybe what we need to focus on is on claiming the listing. We'll show you how to do that. So the next, or the first step, I should say, is go into Google My Business, and you see the URL on the screen, google.com/business. And this is where you're able to create your listing, or in many cases, you can claim it if you already have one, as I mentioned. The first step that you need to do is sign in with your Google account. So if you're already using a Gmail address, that is already a Google account, and you can use it to claim your listing and log in. If you don't have a Gmail account, you can still go through the process. Again, the link is right here, the URL. And as an example, I can take my business email address, such as daniel@mdmdigital.ca. And when I go through the process on the sign up process with a Google account, I can tell Google I already have an email address. So don't give me a Gmail account, just take my corporate business email address and use that as a Google account. And that's another way to do it. And again, that saves you from having to create yet another email account that you need to manage. One of the recommendations that we'll make on this is that make sure that when you go in to either create or claim your listing, is that you're using ideally an email address that more than one person has access to it, right? So in the event that maybe you change roles or you leave the company, that the next person that comes in to manage the account doesn't end up, not having access to optimize it and maintain it. So it's always good to use a generic email address for the business, because if you use someone's email address and they leave, it'll be almost impossible for you to claim it unless you're able to get a hold of that person, and they will receive a notification that someone else is trying to claim it, and they need to authorize that transition. So again, make sure that you're using a general email address and not a personal one. And again, an address that more than one person has access to it. Now, so the next step, once you log in, is to find your business. In this case, you'll see, and we did this for the example and the purposes of this workshop today. We're going to create a fictional company um, called MDM Boat Tours. So in this case, as I mentioned here, you can start typing the name of your business, and the drop-down menu will appear, and you're going to see a list of options. From here, you will be able to either select your business if it's already part of the Google database. And if you don't see your business, you are able to create a new name. So in this case, like I said, this is a fictional company, so I know it wasn't on the list in the previous screen. So I was able to just create a new one. And you'll see here again, it's called MDM Boat Tours. And again, make sure that it's spelled correctly, because this is how people are going to see you online, and this is how they're going to find you. And if you need to change the name later, you're going to have to wait um, until you actually go through the entire process. So you want to make sure that you get this right from the very beginning. The next step will be for you to choose a business category. And again, these categories are given to you by Google. You won't be able to go and create a category. Give me a second. There's more people trying to enter. So as I said, you won't be able to just make up the category. So the best recommendation is that, as you see here on the screen, that you try to find and choose the best one that aligns with your business. So in this case, if you recall, our business name is MDM Boat Tours. We're providing boat cruises or boat tours around Vancouver here in Canada. So the category that we're going to choose in this case, the best aligns with what we do, is boat tour agency, as you see on the screen. And again, you see a list of other businesses. Again, make sure that you're selecting the closest to what you're offering. Next, you can add your location. So if you have a physical location, again, if you're a restaurant, this is a chance to add your address. If you don't have an address because you're more on the servicing side and you're delivering goods or services, whether it be to a hotel, for example. Let's say if you're a car service and you don't really have an office, but you do airport pickups as an example, then you probably want to select no, and then you just go forward and without having to actually submit an address. Now, if you did select yes, then let's make sure that we are as thorough as possible and as accurate as possible in the address that you're going to provide. Again, remember that we want to provide a legal address, but again, we also want to provide an address that we know works on Google Maps. I can tell you in some cases that you might have an address and you know that the address is right, but if you punch it into Google Maps or Waze, it may take it may take you slightly to a different place. So keep all that in mind to make sure again that you are putting the address that someone will be able to use to find you and get directions on their phone and be able to visit your business. The next step will be for you to confirm your business. Again, in this case, if Google finds a similar address as the one you put in, it'll ask you to reconfirm the address, to say, yeah, this is right, this is the right one, and you pick it. If you say, you know what, none of those are the right address for my business, you can select none of the above, as you see here on the screen. Now, the other step, which is really useful, and many people don't realize this, is the fact that you have the ability to add other locations. So you don't need to go in and, let's say you're maybe you're a snorkeling business and you have an office or the little chalet on the beach at 3 or 4 different beaches with different addresses. So you don't need to go through this process 3 or 4 times. You can do it by creating one listing that has multiple locations. And this is your chance to do it. So in this step, Google will ask you if you have other service locations. You can select to say, no, I don't have one, or you can say, yes, I do. And again, if you say that you do, then again, this is your chance to add the other locations, whatever they happen to be. And again, you just see the example here. Whether you start typing it in, it'll give you the opportunity to do so, as you see on the screen. Now, next, it will ask you for your contact information. And again, this should be a phone number that you want your customers to be able to use and call you on. And also make sure that you put a website. Again, make sure that you spell it correctly and that it's not going to not work when you submit this to Google. Because again, once you submit the listing for the first time, it will take some time for you to verify it. So it might be, if you get it wrong, it might be wrong for several days. And if the business is verified and you go back to change it because you made a mistake, again, you might need to wait several days before you're able to actually make the change. So you want to make sure that everything's correct. The next step here is, as you keep going after the contact info, is to select the services that you provide. And again, as you see on the screen here, you'll be able to, again, these services are aligned to the category that we chose before. So you'll be able to pick different services. If you don't see a service that aligns with what you provide, you're able to create one. I will caution you that what you normally see on the screen, regardless of your business category, it's usually aligned to Google's knowledge of what customers are looking for online about your business. So the services, the list that you see here provided, is based on data that Google has, right? So if you go out and create one, it might mean something to you, but it might not be how consumers are actually searching online. So rather than benefiting you, it might actually hurt you. So make sure that, even if it isn't 100% of the service you want to use, but if if it's close enough, like 80%, then just use whatever you see on the screen rather than creating one. But again, you do have the option to create one. Next is the business hours. Again, business hours are super important. Again, we know that if you keep this accurate, it really helps customers being able to make a decision. You are able to add, for example, day partying, or have multiple hours during a day. For example, if you're a restaurant that maybe only opens for lunch, and then you close for a couple of hours before dinner, then you can put your hours, the multiple hours during the day. Or if there's a holiday, we recently had Easter, and if maybe your hours are longer or they're shorter on a long weekend or a holiday, or maybe you're closed, make sure that you always come in here to update the information. The other cool thing that Google My Business gives you is this messaging option. And this is done by downloading the Google My Business app. We highly recommend that you download this app because it will help you, one, to manage your listing on your phone. So again, almost in real time, easy, you can see what's going on. But also, if you enable this option, it really means that, when someone's on their phone searching for the services or the type of products that you sell, they'll be able to message you right from the spot, right? Maybe they're buying, or maybe they're booking, again, let's say a snorkeling family adventure or trip, and maybe they want to say, hey, I'm thinking of going here in a couple of hours, do you still have openings, right? And then maybe they'll message you, right? So the only way to get that message will be on the app. So it's important that you have this app. The one thing that Google will do, and will, again, we only recommend that you do this if you're ready to, and if you have the team to answer this in a speedy manner. Most people that send a message expect an answer back within, ideally within an hour, maybe even less. Google will turn off this feature on your profile if you start using it and Google starts seeing a pattern that you take more than 24 hours to respond. If that's the case, you may just lose the ability to be able to do this, because Google will just turn it off without you even having an option to say yes or no. So again, if you're going to provide this, which is really useful, we would recommend, if you commit to doing this, then really commit to doing it by having someone that will respond, whether it be within an hour or 2 hours, but you guys set that limit internally. But again, it should be fast. The next step will be for you to add a description about your business. Again, think of this as the opportunity that will set you apart from another business. And I'll keep using the example of the snorkeling operator, right? So if there are two snorkeling operators on the beach, why are you better than the guy next door to you, right? What sets you apart? What unique thing do you offer? So make sure that all that comes across in your description. And again, including here any promotions, any sales, anything like that you may have. Google will give you up to 750 characters of space. This is not the place for you to add any links or URLs. Remember, we already did that in other fields, so don't put in here your website. This is not what this is for. And this is also not any place to put any fancy HTML code. Just focus on writing a good description that says why someone should book with you, or why someone should purchase, or why someone should visit your service, your business. The next step, as we keep going through building your listing, is adding photos and videos. Again, we all work in tourism. There is no better way to sell tourism with a photo or a video. It's the easiest way to do it. And like I said, a lot of the data from Google and studies show that if you have photos, that builds confidence with the customer because they can see what you do, what you offer, and they can see what the experience is going to be like. You can upload a video that's up to 30 seconds long. So again, make sure that you're uploading, a nice video that's designed to sell. Don't focus too much on necessarily a story, but highlight what the service or the offering is. The next step, when we're getting pretty closer to finishing the listing, will be you'll get to the screen that basically says, finish your listing. You'll be able to hit continue. And in the next step, this is where we get a chance to verify. And Google wants to know that all the details that you have provided are accurate, that everything's correct before you hit finish. So this is your step to do this. You can hit finish if you see that everything's correct. And then we get into verifying. And the verification varies. It can vary by business. It can vary by geo, where you live. And sometimes it just varies because Google is Google. You might be given a chance when you get to the screen to either verify by phone. You might be given a chance to verify by mail. So you might see both options, or you might only see one of them. Hopefully, cross our fingers that you get the phone option. If you get the phone option, then it will phone the phone number that you added to the listing. So make sure that you're able to actually pick up this phone. When you hit call, Google will call you or send you a text with a PIN or a code. And this is the code that you need to verify the listing. Without verifying the listing will never go live. And this also applies if you already had a listing and you're making changes to it. Again, depending on the change you're making, Google will ask you to verify your listing again, right? So this is why I was mentioning to you before that make sure your phone number, like your basic contact info, make sure it's accurate, because if you submit it like this and then you realize, oh, it's wrong, you may have to go through the steps again, and it might be wrong on Google for several days until you're able to get this PIN to re-verify your listing, right? So if the only option that they give you is mail, Google will throw in the mail a card that you can actually use to get a PIN, and you will verify it the same way. So now, once you're got your listing, you will be provided with a dashboard where you're able to manage your listing and be able to come in here and look for insights and data as to how the performance and the kind of traffic you're seeing. Here, what you see here on the left is the menu of the different options, and we're going to go through these in a moment. What's currently new on Google, it's the safety COVID area. Again, so if any of your hours have changed, or maybe availability because of COVID, make sure you're updated. And if you do nothing, do this one thing, which is to include your safety protocol. A lot, all consumers are looking for, or expect, I should say, not looking, they expect the business to have a safety plan or a safety protocol. So make sure at the very least, even if you don't update your hours, that you have uploaded and updated here your whatever your safety protocol happens to be. The other thing that's available to you here, again, you see the option on the left menu here, is the ability for you to create posts. So remember that we created a description. So this would be above and beyond the description. So it'll give you a chance to create a post for your business. And here's, you can highlight in here, maybe you're having a sale, or maybe there's an event going on. This is also a great place that, maybe your business is very seasonal, and depending on seasons, you may have different offerings or different services. So this is the place to do it. There are 4 types of posts, everything from what's new to a product offering to any offers or an event. The type of these 4 types, what's available to you will vary based on your business category. You will be able to write up to 1,500 characters, which is twice as long as your description. And you're able to also enhance this with your with videos up to 30 seconds long, and also upload up to 10 images. So again, this is really important. And again, it gives you another chance to optimize your listing and really grow it and be really robust for someone to really have the confidence to say, yeah, this is the business I want to do. I want to book or go visit. The other piece is managing your reputation online, whether it be your ratings or your reviews. Again, this is the way, this is where you do it. One, make sure that you always respond in a timely manner. Whether good or bad, make sure you respond. And we would highly recommend, just because the review is not favorable or it's poor, don't delete it. If it's not, if it's offensive, take it down. But if it's not offensive and it's really someone's perception of the experience they had, we recommend you leave it and you deal with it by responding. A listing that only has good reviews also doesn't build confidence on the consumer, because consumers know that more than likely you as the business are deleting the poor reviews, right? And in most cases, the customers want to see not only the good, but also, okay, what isn't going great, because I want to know, right? So make sure you leave them. If you start deleting all of them, it's not going to help you. The other thing that's really, and this is where we think it's one of the greatest tools that Google My Business provides, which is insights. Here you're able to learn how customers are finding your business on Google. So you should be able to come in here, and I would recommend that you come here at least once a month. Depending on your business, you might want to do it, every season if you're very seasonal. But here's where you come and say, and find out, how do they find my business online? You'll be able to see even the keywords they're typing in, like the search phrases that they're using. And again, this should be a place for you to find opportunities. Let's just say, as an example, that you created a post, as you saw in a couple of slides ago, and I'll keep using the example of snorkeling. And let's say you created a post around family, a family snorkeling adventure thing that you're now offering as something that you wanted to test. And you realize, after you look at the data, wow, that posted really well, because now I'm getting all these people coming to finding my business because they're looking for family snorkeling. And you're like, well, that seems like it did really well. I don't have anything like that on my website. So this is really an opportunity to maybe repackage a product that I already have to start selling to families. So by looking at the insights here, you could say, well, I'm going to go to my website and update it to create, a new product called, family snorkeling, because I know it's producing business on Google. So again, use the data to try to find opportunities to improve not only your listing, but really improve your digital presence, again, from your website to even social media. Something that's new. So right now what you see on the screen is the current view of the insights page on your dashboard. Google is slowly transitioning to what you see here. It's just evolving the data that you have access to and just a friendlier way to use it. So the rollout is happening now, and some of you may see it, some other users may not, but eventually we're all going to get to this view. So to finish up and to give a chance for questions, we want to remember three things. One, make sure that you always review your listing and you update it on a regular basis and you keep it accurate. Again, if it's seasonal, make sure that you update content based on seasons, as an example. The other one is, provide as much detail as possible. Include photos, videos, posts. Again, the more you have, the more likely it is that someone's going to click through and visit your website, or just call you directly from the listing. And it's more likely that they will book or lead to a sale. And then last but not least, what we just looked at, which is insights. Make sure that we're using the data that Google provides to optimize not only the listing, but like I said, optimize your overall digital presence because you might find a gold nugget in there. And before we open it to questions, couple of good, amazing resources, uh, and they're all free. You see the link here on the screen. It's called Google on Air. These are free virtual workshops. Sometimes they have one-on-one sessions. So again, some super cool tools here. That, and again, they're all free. There's also a version of this in Spanish for those that maybe you want to choose Spanish instead of English. I will say this, so the English version of this is much more developed or has more content than the Spanish one, but again, it is available in Spanish. And the other one is Grow with Google. Again, another free resource. Again, fantastic information here that not only helps you learn, but I would say, if you have a small team, or in some cases, like it is here in Canada or the US, if you're a small operator, you might be, the owner, you might be the front desk guy, you might be the cleaner, you might be the marketing person, like you wear every hat. So if you're that person, Grow with Google can also be a fantastic tool because it helps you grow your skills and your knowledge about digital in general. So with that, I will pause for a couple of minutes to open it to any questions that Peter might have flagged here.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. Just to start, I would like to mention there are a few people that are asking if we can share this presentation. We will do it through Kata. So as you register, we have your email address and all your info, and they will share with you the presentation. We don't have a specific question, Daniel, yet, but I have a comment, and it's not clear to me, but maybe it could be a question too. Roy Nees says, just for your information, posting not available for accommodation.
I'm
So
looking at that now. Okay. Yeah, so that could be possibly related to sometimes there's an issue, not an issue, but restrictions on the type of business you can post. What I would say, Roy, we can follow up and directly and provide some assistance on this. We can also reach out to our Google reps to ask this question as to why this might be disabled. I think Mike has his hand up.
yes,
Yeah, well, first of all, let me tell you that this is a very good presentation indeed, very informative. But I was curious enough, though, Daniel and Peter, to find out. You said, first of all, this is an app that people have to download, right? Correct?
Well, the Google My Business is it's you can access it through your computer. If
Okay.
you ideally, we recommend you download the app because it makes it easier for you to manage, the day to day. But if you do enable messaging, the only way to receive and respond to messages from customers is through the app.
Okay. But what I wanted to find out though is, once a person has downloaded the app or has registered in Google My Business, how do you go about actually optimizing the search for people to find you easier? For example, I know that Google had something called Google AdWords, where you type in
Mhm.
certain keywords where people, searching the internet would increases the likeliness of people reaching your business or finding your business. Now, what I want to know is, does this system that you're talking about, does it automatically links with the main Google platform where people are searching for different stuff? And say, for example, you mentioned the example of diving or snorkeling, whatever. How do you increase the possibility of people finding you then on Google? That was my main question.
Okay, so Google Ads or Google AdWords, as they used to be called before, is a completely different product than Google My Business. So Google My Business is more for what's called SEO, or search engine optimization, from a local search perspective. Again, in most cases, when the listing is going to show is when someone's on their phone, or even when you're on your computer and you're doing a type of search that, from a Google perspective, appears to be a local search. There are many factors that will improve the chance for this listing on Google My Business to rank higher in results. And that's
Mhm.
everything to do from, we don't know the secret sauce or the algorithm on from Google, but it's everything to do with, reviews. Normally, a listing with more reviews and rating, better rating, sorry, will have a better chance to rank better, right? If you keep your listing current and optimized on a regular basis, that also helps it with the ability to rank better than other listings that may not, right? So it's a matter of keeping it current. Your other question, though, Mike, about Google Ads or Google AdWords, like I said, this is completely different, and that's about you paying Google to run ads based on keywords, right? If someone's looking for snorkeling in Belize, then the other program, literally, you are buying the keyword so that your ad shows up, which is a little bit different.
Okay, very good. My second question was, for example, you guide us through step by step on setting up the business. But say, for example, there's a small standalone restaurant. For some reason or the other, they need to move from the current address to another address. Are they able to go back into the system and, for example, edit the information that they have
Mhm.
originally placed?
Yes, you can. Yes, you
Oh,
can.
okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Yes, totally. And that's the way to do it. Rather than you um, deleting, let's say, or not deleting, but maybe abandoning that listing, and you say, okay, I'm going to move, so I'm going to go create a new one. That's not the way to do it. The best way to do it is you go back in to change the address. And this is where I mentioned before, where, make sure that you have access to it, because maybe someone created the listing, I don't know, many years ago, and then now you're about to move after being there for 2 3 years, and then maybe the person that created that is no longer there, right? And
right.
then you won't be able to access this. I would say just plan it, because if you are changing the address, again, it really varies. Google may say, okay, you changed the address, we need to verify the business again. So then you go in and you kind of go through the process of getting the PIN to re-verify. The other thing I would say too, with COVID, Google has introduced the ability for you to also flag if you're temporarily closed. So if you are maybe closing for a little bit, you can also just say, rather than saying that you're closed forever, you just say we're temporarily closed. And TripAdvisor has done the same thing.
Okay. And just finally from me, Daniel, I just noted the comment there from one of the participants that this is not the system is not available for accommodations. Of course, as you know, we obviously look after the interests of our stakeholders, and I would request if you could find out for us why is it that accommodations, especially for accommodation, because as you know, this is a system that I think would work very very good for our hotel owners, especially. Well, of course, it will work for tour operators, etc. But if it's not listed, we want to know why is it that it is not listed, and if there is any conditions that would allow businesses to actually register, whether it is through means of maybe paying a fee or whatever. But it's something that certainly is of great interest for us, because it's from what I can see, it's a very important marketing tool that I'm pretty sure that quite a lot of participants will be able to find it useful in the future, whether they have to pay or whether it is true or not. So I would request Daniel and Peter, if you could do a little research on that for us, keep us informed so that we in turn can inform our participants, no, as to Why is it that
For sure, Mike. Yeah.
accommodations is not currently listed? So that's it for me, and I'm pretty sure the other participants will have other questions.
Yeah,
Thanks.
well, no, thanks for that. I wrote it down, and I know exactly the person I can phone at Google to ask why.
we
For
have
sure.
a couple of questions. But before that, I would like to just to give you my opinion. I would like to invite you to see Google My Business as another social media platform. I mean, like in Facebook, you will, if you move from your office, you will change your information there, right? Or you update your business hours or something like that, right? And also, using this Facebook example, you will always be like posting something new, a new offer, and the motivational message or something like that. And that's something that you can also do on Google, like just when we have the post option, you can post there a new picture, a new offer or something like that, and that keep your account very, very active. So that's my suggestion. Okay, Roy Ness says that he also answer messages via desktop or laptop. It's a comment. And then we have a message. We don't have it in. I mean, we have a question. We don't have it in name. I also can see iPhone. That's the name. So I have the question is I have a tour agency that also offers boat tours. I noticed that is the option for tour agency and boat tour agency. Should I select both categories? Is there any advantage to selecting both, or should I just select tour agency and Google that include all tours?
So one of them is more general than the other, right? Because the tour agency could be about anything, and then the boat tour agency is more specific. It's hard to give you an answer without knowing how many businesses there are. But if we use the the Google way of thinking, I would say be as accurate as possible. And if accurate means that you are a boat tour agency, then pick that one, because then you want to make sure that that's what you're ranking well for, as opposed to just saying I'm a tour agency. And if, as an example, because it works this way in other parts of Google, that if company A says they're a tour agency and company B says they're a boat tour agency, and then a customer says, I'm looking for a boat tour agency, Google's going to say, well, which one's the most relevant? Based on company A being a tour agency and company B being a boat tour agency, then company B has the exact offering that the customer typed in the search to look for. So I would say just be as accurate as possible. And that's normally how Google works.
Okay, and Denise Oakley is asking if you can recap the verify my page option. Often the codes sent by mail do not reach us before the 30-day expire dates.
The other option is by phone. And like I said, that might vary depending on your location or your category. And to be honest with you, we have yet to understand when Google decides to offer one or the other or both. So the other option you might be able to see on the screen is, like I said, either phone or like a phone call or a text message. I would say maybe send us an email. And we've had this issue before with another couple of businesses we were helping, and we might be able to just directly go to Google and say, hey, we're trying to verify this business, and every time it arrives too late. Can you help us? So
Okay, considering the time, we are going to move on to the next presentation, but we have a Mile Gomez question, so we will reply her by email.
okay,
So let's go to the next presentation then.
okay. Thank you, Peter, and thanks for being engaged and having all these questions. So the next part of the presentation, this is part of only about 15 minutes, so we're almost done. Is Tripadvisor, and this is very similar to the approach and the thinking for Google My Business, where where it provides you a chance to create or claim your listing. So what are we going to look at today? So one, we'll look at the influence of TripAdvisor. Again, I think we all know this, but again, we just wanted to remind us of this again, as to why this is so important. Then we're going to go through a similar step-by-step of how to claim or create your listing, and then kind of look at, what does a good listing look like, and then also talk about the safe travel option that TripAdvisor is now offering. So the shortest and the best way to describe TripAdvisor is consumers trust it. The bottom line is, doesn't matter how you look at it, they trust TripAdvisor. And especially here in North America. And again, if we think of, we're thinking not just domestic, but also thinking, okay, of your international travelers, whether it be from Europe or North America, they rely heavily on TripAdvisor. Not necessarily to make their booking all the time, but to really review and decide upon some of the choices they're going to make when they're planning their travel. So we know that the influence of TripAdvisor is huge. They're the biggest travel website in the world. The last data that we have from them is that they have over 463 million monthly unique visitors, which is a lot of eyeballs. And they're available in 49 different markets. Again, massive presence from a travel perspective, but also just in general on the internet. There are over 859 million reviews and opinions listed, or that consumers have contributed to TripAdvisor on the platform. And there are over 8.6 million listings on that platform. Again, whether it be account providers, accommodations, hotels, bed and breakfast, and so on, airlines, attractions or experiences, in restaurants. So again, a lot of content already here, and again, and people trust it. So now, the how do you set up your listing on TripAdvisor? And again, this is very similar to Google, where you'll have the opportunity to either create it new or to claim your listing. And we're going to look at both options. So similar to Google, there's a place where you need to go. In this case, it's called tripadvisor.com/owners. And here you'll see the option to claim or create your business. Before you decide to create a new business, make sure that you go in and look and see if your business exists. And we'll look at that in the next screen. But also make sure that you ask internally, has someone ever done this? Because the last thing you want to do is create a duplicate listing and go through the process just to have it declined by TripAdvisor. So make sure that you ask before if someone has done this. And again, similar to Google, make sure that when you go through this process, that you use an email address that more than one person has access to it. And ideally, it's a general email address so that you can always manage this, regardless of the person that happens to be there, working for you. So now when you come here, make sure that if you chose claim your listing, make sure that you search for your business first, right? In this case, we put in Hilton, where we're looking for the Hilton in Guatemala City in this example. So you put in the Hilton and you start seeing the options that come up on the screen. Make sure that you try to find it. If you don't see it at first, try different spellings. Maybe it was created just slightly different than you normally would call your business. So go in and try a couple variations. And if after that nothing comes up, then you can say, I can claim it by clicking on it, or you can say, create my business, or create you can't find it and you want to list it now, so you can create a new one. And that's what you see on the arrow. Now, the next here you see, and this is the example quickly on claiming your listing, we selected the hotel we're looking for, we found it, and now we can say, as you see on the button there, it says claim your free listing. So this would be the option. If you see it, yeah, this is my property, this is my hotel, I can now claim it. Now, if you're claiming the listing, make sure again that you go through all the details, make sure you're providing the contact information. As mentioned before, make sure you use a general email address that anyone has access to it, or at least a couple of people do. That way it doesn't leave when somebody leaves your company. This is also your chance to select that preferred language on communication with TripAdvisor, and also make sure that you select your role. Now, if we go back to the beginning, and that's kind of a step of claiming your listing because everything already exists. Now, if we go back to the same beginning screen where we're searching for the Hilton in Guatemala City, and you're like, you know what, I can't find it. I need to create a new listing. Then we click on the bottom option on the drop down menu that says list it now, and that will then begin the process for us to be able to create our listing. So on the next screen, if you go through that option, it'll give you 4 category types, as you see on the screen here: hotels, restaurants, attractions, and vacation rentals, right? And again, make sure that you select the best appropriate category for your business. Um, the one thing to also flag in this is if you do select attraction, you will notice uh, the company called Viator, as you see on the screen. Tripadvisor bought Viator a few years ago, which is regardless of getting a listing. But we wanted to highlight that you will see if you choose the category attraction, the Viator will come up, and you kind of think, okay, what's going on? I was on Tripadvisor, now it says Viator. It's still the same process. You're still able to get a free listing. Viator does offer other things, such as allowing you to sell tickets on the Viator platform if you're an attraction. Again, you obviously have to pay a fee, but if all you want to do is create a free listing on TripAdvisor, then you still go through these steps. And again, it's not going to cost you. There is no cost for you. And again, you will see the 3 categories here that you see: supplier, point of interest, and travel agency. So if you're, as an example, if your business helps travelers um, with an experience of a place or point of interest like a tour or maybe bike rentals, you can select supplier. If maybe you have if you have a physical location, it could be a museum, or maybe it's a theme park, or maybe a specific point of interest, then select point of interest. And obviously, if you're a travel agency, then this is what you select. Or even if you select, or even if you have a visitor center, sorry, or an info center, or a resource that you provide to customers, then select travel agency. This is the best category for it. Now, once we start going through the process, you'll be prompted with a form that looks like this one, where again, no different than Google. Make sure you provide the best accurate information. And again, I know in Latin America, sometimes a legal address that you submit with the city might be slightly different sometimes than what reality is. So make sure we put an address that customers can use to find your business, right? So make sure that that information is accurate. Similar to Google, make sure that you're uploading, photos, good quality photos, before you, as the last step before you submit done. Um, Photos, again, no different than Google, will really increase the confidence and will really persuade that customer to make that decision to click through, or really add you as the option to book. Um, so make sure that you do a good job with the images. We wanted to share this listing. This is an attraction here in Canada, in the city of North Vancouver. The Capilano Suspension Bridge is one of the top attractions in the city. They've done an amazing job with adding photos, and also really optimizing and encouraging customers to engage and leave reviews. To date, they have almost 10,000 reviews already, which is incredible. You can see here, they've done a super job, as I said, with their photos. And again, these are all photos that people contribute, but also can be photos that you upload. So make sure that you upload your photos, but also encourage people to share their photos. TripAdvisor has 3 types of photos: uh, owner photos, which are the photos you upload; customer photos, or UGC photos, user generated content, which is the photos that the customer or the guest uploads. And the other type is almost like what's called like a licensed photo. So there are cases where TripAdvisor, in collaboration with the business, will actually commission a photo shoot. So if TripAdvisor says, hey, I want to work with you and we want to do a photo shoot, then when a photo shoot happens, those photos that get uploaded become licensed. So there's three different types. At the end of the day, for the customer, they won't notice the difference, but I just want to make sure that you guys knew that there are three different photo types on TripAdvisor. And then the other option that's new is this travel safe initiatives, and this is mostly for accommodation providers for hotels, where you're able to share your COVID-19 safety plan or your protocols. Right, it's free to use, so we highly encourage you to update and use this. You'll be able to see that the bar at the top. If you click on it, it takes you to the bottom of the page, where again it details the information you have provided. Again, very important. I know with vaccinations, happening fast in the U.S. as one example. Every signal that we can see from a U.S. travel perspective is that Americans are eager and ready to travel, and they're used to seeing this type of information. So make sure that you are, including this information on your accommodation listing. So to wrap it up, again, make sure that you find and claim your listing. Similar to Google, sell with images, sell with videos. Make sure you inspire customers with it. And last but not least, keep it updated. And again, no different than Google, make sure you manage your reviews, because these are the what builds confidence with consumers when they're seeing your listing. So with that, I know we're almost at time here. We have another 5 minutes or so. Any other questions, or we'll open up to questions.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. We don't have any questions yet. So, well,
That's all the. There's no questions. That's the content we had for today. We Again, we really appreciate you, being here for almost an hour and a half. So really thankful for your time. I know everyone's busy. Um, and again, I think through Kata and Mike, we are going to share the presentation.
yes.
Anything else to add, Mike or Karina, or before we conclude?
Well, no, just on behalf of the Belize Tourism Board, the Minister of Tourism and Diaspora Relations, I want to extend to you all a heartful congratulations, first of all, for that wonderful presentation. It certainly has been very eye-opening and very informative. And secondly, I want to express our heartfelt thanks for you know being so helpful, always being very supportive, always providing the right information for our questions. And certainly it's a pleasure for us, for BTB, to have been able to assist in coordinating. And certainly I can't go without expressing my sincere thanks to Carolina and Karina and the rest of the Kata team. I know they have been working extremely hard putting together all these workshops because, as you know, it's not only Belize, there are other countries also having similar workshops. And so I want to thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. And I'm glad to hear, Peter, that you will be sharing that with us so that in turn we will be able to share the presentation with as many stakeholders who, for some reason or the other, well, they registered but couldn't make it today, So once again, thank you so much.
Hey,
Thank
well,
you.
thank you, Mike. So I'll let you close, Peter.
Okay, so thank you, everyone. And as I said, we are going to share this presentation with Kata, and then Kata will share it with Mike and then with you. So one more time, here is our information. There is our email address. So let us know if you have any other questions or concerns. Here is my info too, and Danielle's email. It's very simple, Peter at mdmdigital.ca and Daniel at mdmdigital.ca. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful day and hopefully see you soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.